slept. Even in the early hours before sunrise, distant sirens echoed through crowded streets, while neon lights reflected off rain-soaked pavement. John Creasy sat alone in a dimly lit apartment overlooking the endless maze of buildings stretching toward the horizon. Months had passed since the events that changed his life forever, yet peace remained elusive. The outside world saw a man who had survived impossible circumstances. They saw a former operative who had completed his mission and disappeared into obscurity. What they didn't see were the memories that followed him every day. Faces, voices, promises, regrets. Some wounds healed with time. Others became permanent companions. Creasy had spent years believing violence was the only language the world understood. Experience taught him that evil rarely surrendered willingly. It adapted. It evolved. It waited for opportunities to return stronger than before. That belief was why he remained restless despite having every reason to walk away. Deep down, he knew unfinished stories had a habit of finding their way back in evening. A knock at his door shattered the silence. The visitor was a former intelligence contact named Gabriel Torres, a man known for bringing bad news disguised as opportunities. Torres entered without ceremony and placed a thick folder on the table. The expression on his face told Creasy everything he needed to know. Whatever was inside the folder was serious at first glance. The documents appeared unrelated. Missing persons reports, financial records, security footage, news articles from different countries. Yet as Creasy examined them more closely, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children from influential families were disappearing across multiple continents. Authorities treated each case as an isolated incident. Local investigations rarely progressed beyond initial stages. Witnesses vanished. Evidence disappeared. Families received anonymous warnings, discouraging further inquiries. Amin was controlling the investigations, and powerful Torres explained that several intelligence agencies had quietly launched inquiries of their own. None achieved meaningful results. Every lead eventually reached a dead end. Every attempt to identify those responsible encountered unexpected resistance. The situation became even more concerning when analysts discovered connections linking the disappearances to individuals occupying influential positions within governments, corporations, and criminal organizations. Creasy listened without interruption. Deeper Torres went into the details. The darker the picture became, this wasn't random criminal activity, it was organized, systematic, extremely well protected. Official explanation blamed human trafficking networks operating across international borders. Creasy wasn't convinced. The scale of coordination required for these operations exceeded anything ordinary criminal groups could achieve. Someone was providing resources, protection, and information. Someone capable of manipulating systems designed to stop exactly this kind of activity. Initially, Creasy refused involvement, had spent years trying to leave that life behind. Cost had been too high too. Many people had suffered because of the choices he made. A bit. Then Torres showed him one final photograph, a young girl 12 years old missing. For 6 months the image reminded him of someone he had once sworn to protect. That was enough. 3 days later, Creasy boarded a flight under a false identity and began following the trail. His investigation led him through major cities, remote border crossings, abandoned industrial facilities, and luxury estates hidden behind layers of security. Everywhere he looked, he found fragments of the same story. Powerful individuals benefiting from a system built upon fear and silence. The more he uncovered, the more dangerous the situation became. Surveillance teams appeared unexpectedly. Vehicles followed him through crowded streets. Secure contacts stopped answering calls. Simeon knew he was investigating and they wanted him gone instead of retreating. Creasy pressed harder. Years of experience allowed him to see patterns others missed. Financial transactions disguised as charitable donations, shipping records altered to conceal destinations, security companies functioning as fronts for larger operations. Piece by piece, he assembled a picture of the organization responsible. Its reach was global. Its leadership remained hidden. Its influence extended into places most people considered untouchable. Then came the first direct warning. Returning to his hotel one night, Creasy discovered the room untouched except for a single item placed neatly on the table. A photograph. It showed him walking through a marketplace earlier that day written across the back were forward sleeve this alone. Creasy's message confirmed what he already suspected. The enemy knew exactly who he was and they were watching for most people. The warning would have worked for John Creasy. It only reinforced his determination-based threats meant he was getting closer as weeks passed. The investigation transformed into something larger than a missing persons case. The organization wasn't merely exploiting vulnerable victims. It was building influence through blackmail, coercion, and corruption. Powerful figures who should have protected innocent people had instead become participants. Realization filled Creasy with a familiar anger that never truly disappeared kind he had spent years trying to control now. It returned stronger than ever on night. Hidden inside an abandoned warehouse overlooking a private harbor, Creasy finally obtained evidence linking senior members of the organization to multiple disappearances. Names, dates, transactions, enough information to expose everything. There was just one problem. The moment he secured the evidence, armed operatives arrived. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Gunfire echoed through steel corridors. Lights shattered. All arms blared across the complex. Creasy fought his way through waves of attackers while protecting the data that could destroy the entire operation. Every exit was blocked. Every route had been anticipated despite overwhelming odds. He escaped be done. News networks around the world began reporting coordinated law enforcement actions targeting criminal enterprises previously considered beyond reach. Arrests occurred in multiple countries. Assets were frozen. Investigations expanded rapidly. For the first time, the organization faced genuine exposure, but Creasy knew better than to celebrate. Organizations like this rarely collapsed overnight. Powerful people rarely surrendered quietly, and somewhere in the shadows, individuals responsible for countless crimes remained free. The sun rose above the city skyline. He stood alone on a rooftop watching helicopters circle in the distance. The battle wasn't over, not yet. The people behind the operation would regroup. They would adapt. They would strike back, and when they did, John Creasy would be waiting. Beckos, some fires never truly go out. They simply burn beneath the surface until the moment arrives to rise again.